You know, I've been here in the Senate long enough to think that maybe the Senate would start going back to being the Senate and voting on things and debating things and reflecting the will of the people and not dictate from the White House. Perhaps that was wishful thinking on my part, because in just the latest example of the cut first and ask questions later policies of the Trump administration, we're now going to vote a bill that would claw back billions of dollars from children's health insurance, affordable housing investments, infrastructure, rural development, and innovative energy programs. This because the White House says we've got to save money. This is the same White House who just forced through Congress a $1.9 trillion, not billion, but trillion, 1,900 billion, $1.9 trillion tax giveaway, most of which goes to billionaires and corporations. And then to say, well, we have to cut out children's health insurance because we've got to reduce the deficit. We're going to give almost $2 trillion to corporations which have not hired more people or put it into corporations, but put it into stock giveaways or stock buybacks or things that don't create jobs. But we'll give that $1.9 billion, but oh my God, this may increase the deficit. So we've got to cut children's health insurance, affordable housing investments, infrastructure, rural development, and innovative energy programs. That goes beyond laughable. It's unconscionable. President Trump is seeking to cut $7 billion from funding meant for children's health insurance. If you strip this funding from the children's health insurance program, we leave children unprotected when unforeseen events like a flu outbreak or a natural disaster. We also, while Congress should be able to make critical investments in health care and education, that's taken away. And even if the money can no longer be dedicated to the CHIP program, we should reinvest it in other important programs, as we've done in the past, programs that support our nation's children and families. I don't think there's any member of this body, when they're campaigning, doesn't talk about how important children and their families are to them. Well, I hope those same families ask them, how much of the money did you take out from children and families? Earlier this year, the Congress did what they were supposed to. Republicans and Democrats came together to direct this funding to the federal response to the opioid epidemic, to child care and development block grants, the Head Start, and the National Institutes of Health. These are investments in our country, not tax giveaways, but investments in our country. If you strip this funding, it's penny wise, it's pound foolish. Now, President Trump says he wants to claw back billions of dollars from infrastructure programs. I see so many of these photo ops he does speaking about, we want to do something about infrastructure. However, we don't want to pay for it, we're going to take the money back. Let's look at what the money is he wants to take away. Programs that do everything from supporting loans to help factories produce more efficient vehicles to building bridges in small communities. Now, these are programs that directly support American jobs. They're not jobs overseas, they're jobs right here. And now they want to take the money out. For an administration that's perpetually in infrastructure week, it doesn't make sense to be trying to cut funding for infrastructure. How do we put America first when you strip funds that support American jobs? In the continued push to leave rural America behind, Mr. Trump's rescission package would cut millions of dollars from rural development programs. Now, every single senator in this body has rural areas in their state. And they know these programs help to ensure that the same basic services that are offered in rural areas that we see in urban areas. What are those things? You know, things we rely on, like schools or healthcare clinics or police stations. Are we saying only urban areas can have that? Rural areas can't? In the Appropriations Committee, Senator Shelby and I have been focused on moving forward through the fiscal year 2019 process. We're trying to return the committee to regular order, something that most Republicans and Democrats in this body say they want. We've successfully kept poison pill riders and controversial authorizing language out of the appropriation bills, whichever side out they come from. And we've passed, by an overwhelming margin, 7 bipartisan bills out of our committee. You know, it's been years, Madam President, since we've seen that happen. Here we've had seven bipartisan appropriations bills come out of committee, and almost all Republicans and all Democrats voted for them. Even the Interior Appropriations Bill, that's a bill that has been historically bogged down with poison pill riders and usually forced into a massive omnibus appropriations bills because we could not reach an agreement. In the past, we had to put in an omnibus bill because we couldn't agree on it. Well, guess what happened? We passed it out of the committee unanimously. I don't recall that happening in nearly a decade. And if we go forward with this rescission package, it's going to derail the process. The rescission bill undermines the bipartisan budget deal the Republicans and Democrats struck just 4 months ago. It's saying, okay, we all agreed on this 4 months ago, but gosh, that was 4 months ago. We got to have something to break that agreement. Because if we go forward with this package, another will follow, and another, even further undermining the agreement. And Madam President, I would remind everybody, if they haven't gotten around to read the Constitution, it does grant Congress the power of the purse, not the executive branch. Congress decides spending priorities, not the president. We ought to actually do our job. We should exercise that right. We should reject this rescissions package. We should uphold the bicameral, bipartisan budget agreement. So I urge all senators to reject this rescissions package, to oppose the motion to discharge.